Sound good? Okay, perfect. So to get things started, Simon, I'm very happy to have you here today. I appreciate you taking the time, buddy. I would like to introduce you, Simon Gallagher from Nordic Structures, or Nordic. I would love just to hear a little bit about who you are, Simon, and yeah, what you do with Nordic.
So I'm a structural engineer. I've been with Nordic now for almost 10 years. So I started as a structural engineer and now I'm a project manager and team lead. In the Greene project, I was the project manager for the Nordic side of things on that project.
Simon, maybe for those that don't know who Nordic is, can you just tell us a little bit about the company, where it is, what you guys specialize on?
Yeah, so Nordic is a family-owned business based out of Quebec. It's a wood manufacturer primarily. It started out as a sawmill that produced dimensional lumber in Chibougamau, which is roughly 9 hours north of Montreal. And so that dimensional lumber was mainly used in the mining industry up there. And they slowly grew and transitioned and evolved, and they added joists for residential construction and eventually glulam and CLT, so mass timber. And at the time, there wasn't a huge market for it, and that's where Nordic Structures came about. So it's a sister company in Montreal that we have roughly now 60 employees, I would say, to help support the industry and to develop mass timber projects and move those along. So it's the only fully vertically integrated mass timber supplier in North America. So Nordic actually manages the forest, the harvest, the replanting. They transform the wood, the trees into dimensional lumber, transform that dimensional lumber into engineered products like joists and glulam and CLT. They're involved in the design of the projects too. So depending on the mandate, they're going all the way from design build to just connection design or design assist even, where we help try and get involved early with projects to really help the professionals and client get the most efficient project they can, building they can, and all the way to the delivery and installation on site. So managing also the transport from the shop all the way to site, the logistics of that, and the installation.
And when it comes to projects and mass timber projects in particular, Simon, I mean, are you guys predominantly in Canada, being from Canada, or across the US as well? Like, what's the territory like when it comes to the projects that you work on?
So there's a nice little map on the website that you can take a look at that shows all our projects with little dots. And most of them are in the Northeast, but that's starting to grow everywhere now. So we're involved right now. I'm involved in a project in California, a couple in California, there are projects in Virginia, in Texas, even in France. I would say most of our projects so far have been in the Northeast, but it's starting to grow into the rest of the United States as well.
Coming back a little bit to the project, Simon, how early or at what point did you get involved with the 283 Greene Avenue project?
Yeah, so once we had a contract and once it was in being executed, that's when we got involved. When I got involved, I should say. So yeah, really at that point. So, and our involvement in that project the start of it would be the connection design for this. So design assist. So we looked really at all the details and tried to optimize where we could, tried to, things that made more sense for the fabrication side of things, the constraints that the shop has to try and, fiddle details to make them work a bit better. And then really all the design of the mass timber connection. So how does the mass timber attach to itself and to the concrete and to the foundation, and designing all those, calcing all those, signing them, and producing shop drawings so that the install team can follow something to so that they know what to do on site.
In talking about this project in particular, Simon, obviously it's not the first mass timber job that you guys have been involved with. This is something that you see on a regular basis. However, my understanding is that for that area, this was the first project that come up that was residential, 5-story CLT. From your point of view, was there anything different or anything particular when it came to this project?
It is something we see very often, um, but it was a first. It's also, being in a city center like that, there's a question of room on site and the whole logistics of trucking that gets interesting. The building has kind of balconies that hang off of a concrete wall.
Yep.
And so those balconies are anchored into the concrete wall. And that was a very interesting detail that we hadn't seen before, that we had to really think about the sequencing and how is it going to be braced temporarily until the concrete is poured, because that concrete was poured after the CLT went up. So there was a whole sequencing there that was a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing those balconies, and it was very interesting to see how they were laid out. I like us personally, we've seen, quite a few mass timber jobs, but this one was very nicely done. And just the fact that we had the exposed ceilings, the concrete walls, it made everything look very nice.
I was there a few times, making sure things went up properly, overseeing the install team, touching base with the client, the general contractor, and ensuring that everything went as planned. Yeah.
And when it came time to bring the building up, Simon, did I understand well saying that you guys have your own install team that was on site to do that, or you were dealing with somebody else?
So it's subcontracted,
Okay.
but it's in our scope. So we're responsible for the installation, and we work hand in hand with, we have different install teams that we do work with that we know well, that have a lot of experience.
And on this project, Simon, from our point of view, obviously just working in soundproofing, our main concern was keeping this building quiet, especially the fact that it had no concrete topping. And that the one had ceilings exposed brought up a lot of challenges when it comes to soundproofing, because we're removing potential weight or mass on the building. We're, not using any suspended ceilings or things like that. We had to get very creative in terms of what we were going to use acoustically. That being said, from your point of view and what you did, were there any concerns or challenges along the way on this project?
I mean, soundproofing was one thing we mentioned. We
Okay.
raised a little
So you
flag
as
on
well.
it. Well, I mean, it's not in our, so it's something that we're not responsible for. So when we work on a project, we really try and look at it holistically. And
Yeah.
if we see something that might be a concern, we'll always raise a flag, not necessarily to give a recommendation or advice or the best way to, but just to say, hey, in our experience, this might be an issue. Maybe check it out with somebody. These are people that might know. These are different solutions that might work. But
So from what I understand, acoustics were one of the concerns or one of the challenges that you guys brought up to the table. Was there anything else?
nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, there was the install sequence with that balcony that's hanging off the concrete wall, and also just the sequencing too between the wood and the concrete, the side concrete walls, the way that it all came together. Actually, the CLT slab is supported by the concrete, and the concrete wasn't there. It came afterwards.
Yeah.
So there was a whole sequencing issue there that was something to work around.
When it comes to the project, maybe just going to the opposite side of concerns or challenges, do you remember any particular highlights in working on this project?
I think again that exposed balcony there,
Yeah.
very nice feature. Also, I thought it was really interesting the membranes that they use to protect it, because it's a different system than what we're used to.
Okay.
I think it was a European system. I could be wrong on that, but something that was kind of a liquid that's poured almost, and that produces this membrane as opposed to what we see here typically.
So those balconies, I'm from talking to you, I realized how much of an added feature or something out of the box it was.
So we basically have an internal wood structure and an external wood structure and a wall in between both, and both are hanging off of it, as
Right.
opposed to having a giant wood structure with, the balcony sticking out and you have your wall going through it. That's a run of the mill, but I think it's just that cut through it. That's quite a bit different. Yeah.
You coming from the wood world, I don't know. I'd like to get your opinion maybe on the added benefits of working with a material like CLT or like mass timber.
I think there are a few big advantages. One will be the environmental footprint, much more sustainable than the alternatives. Another big one is the impact that the spaces create. So if you leave that wood exposed, it's just a beautiful finish, and it's also a finished product right away. So you don't need to come back and apply a whole bunch of things. Your structure is your finished architectural product. So that's another huge advantage, and just the quality of life for the people using the building is a lot nicer. And the last one, from an economical, let's say, standpoint, is the speed of installation. So wood building will go up much, much more quickly than a concrete counterpart. I can think of a whole bunch of buildings that pieces just fly into place. It's like a Lego set, right? It's like
Right.
a Lego set, and you have your truck and you just drop your pieces and you just slowly build your way up, and you're putting up floors in matters of days, as opposed to concrete where you need your shoring, and then you need to build your formwork, and you pour it and you need to wait 7 days, and you keep going up, and it takes quite a bit of time. That speed is a huge savings. So you decrease the amount of time on site, so you save on crane, labor, and you get your building a little bit faster, so you can capitalize on that a little bit sooner. Yeah. How long does it typically take to put formwork up on, How long does that take? I'm not sure.
Yes.
It depends how many people you have. It depends on the square footage.
Of course.
Then when you pour that concrete, how long will it take to cure?
To cure, yeah.
So that you're talking about 7 days to get your 80% capacity before you can go on your next level.
Yep.
So once you pour one level, you're at least waiting 7 days to put your next level up. So there was a crew of, I think, 5 people on Greene.
Okay.
Whereas that you would need a lot more people if you're talking about other materials, typically.
In general, Simon, would you say that because of those reasons, bringing up a mass timber building is always going to be more cost effective than concrete, or again, it's just on a case by case scenario?
I think it will be more cost effective if it's planned properly.
Mm-hmm.
So if people like the manufacturer are involved early.
Yep.
If the other trades like plumbing, electrical, all the HVAC, all that stuff,
Yep.
if those people are involved early in the process so that they can really coordinate everything, then yes, then you get those savings. Because people are used to building with concrete, so they know how, it goes. They can come in kind of late and just, they do the same thing that they've always been used to doing. Here, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And if everybody's involved early, then there's no question that there's a huge saving on speed on site. Yeah,
absolutely. And going where we're going, heading to being more conscious about the environment and things like that. How do you see the future of mass timber?
Honestly, it's growing like crazy. There's a lot more demand. Everybody, competitors, ourselves, we're all, there's more and more production, so capacities are increasing. There's a huge growth in the market.
Do you think that has been from the last couple of years?
I feel like over the last 5 years, there's really been a lot more interest especially in the United States. That's driving a lot of it, because it's a huge market. And I would say, yeah, over the last 5 years, there's been that growth, that interest, people developing new tools, techniques, things that can be applied to mass timber. I think right now is a great time to be in the industry. I think there's a huge future, definitely. Yeah.
That being said, What do you think Nordic brings to the table, and that separates you guys from everybody else?
So I think there are a few answers to that. I think one is just the amount of experience that we have. So we've been doing this for a lot longer than a lot of our competitors,
Yeah.
which gives us a huge edge experience-wise. We've seen a lot of things. We've done a lot of this before. Of course, there's so much new in the industry. There's always new things and there's new ways of doing things, but we've seen a lot of it. So that helps a lot. That's one aspect. Another is the fact that we're integrated, so that fully vertically integrated. So the fact that we're involved in the harvest of the trees gives us a huge advantage on the supply of the resource. So we don't need to go on the market to buy wood.
Yep.
Which gives us a huge advantage. So we can control that the flow of material. And another is that something that's really important to us is that we really give a service to the client. So we really try and understand the needs, not what they're asking for, but why they're trying to do it, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, so that we can find the best solutions and things that they might not have thought of to get the result that they're looking for.
I think a big point that you touched on right there was the experience and the fact that you guys have been doing this for a while.
I'm really curious about if you did other acoustic tests.
Did I ever share with you the actual test report, or I haven't? Okay.
No, you haven't.
I need to do that. I need to do that.
I'd love to see it.
So just FYI, we did two tests. So they were done on the 4th and 3rd level, one room next to the other, because we did want to see if the results were consistent, even if we were in the middle of the building or on an exterior side, so on a corner unit. We performed tests on STC, which are obviously airborne noises, and IIC, which are the impact noises. So on impact, we got an IIC of 54.
Okay.
Even though the minimum requirement is 50 for building code. So we surpassed that by 4 points. And when it came to the STC, minimum requirement there again was 50. And we got a 57, which was great. And I have to point that again, that it is great, especially because there was no concrete and there was no suspended ceilings whatsoever. If you plan things ahead, you can get great results. And we got a 54 and a 57 on this building, which was, very, very good news. I'm going to make sure to send that report over to you so you can take a look at it.
I'd be curious. On top of the CLT in the end.
So on top of the CLT, what we had was an underlayment directly over the substrate, which was a 6 millimeter synthetic fiber underlayment.
Okay.
Over that, we had some acoustical panels. They're called Sofix panels. They're a combination of mineral fibers with plastic cups underneath that have a certain dimension to them. And over that, we had 2 layers of plywood. Then we had a flooring that was applied on top, which was nailed and glued over the plywood panels. Because we did not have a suspended ceiling underneath, what this system creates pretty much is just having a ceiling, if I could say it like that, but over top. Mm-hmm. A tiny ceiling over top. So the panels, the Sofix panels, are about 1.5 inches. So yeah, it creates that airspace. We needed to create that airspace somewhere. And because we wanted to have that exposed ceiling, we had no other choice than to create it on top. So that's what we did. So it is a buildup that you need to think about, that you need to plan, because it's not just, a tiny underlayment and then a flooring as you normally would see in a concrete building. It's a little bit more planning. But yeah, all in all, that was it. And it seems maybe complex when I explain it, but installation wise, it went very well. I had a conversation with the flooring contractors and he said, you know what, Christian, once we got the hang of it, it went super quick, just as quick as any other project or any other floor installation that we do. So that was good.
That's nice. Yeah, that's nice to hear. People like working on wood buildings.
I think what you guys bring to the table is very important. And I think moving on, buildings that are environmentally friendly, that have a real impact, I think is very good and very smart. So I think all in all, that's it, Simon, on my side. It was a pleasure having you here with me. I thank you for your time. I hope to work with you in the future on other projects. I wish you a great day and hope to talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot.